Hello, dear friends. Life and death are not separate. They are part of the same dance. One moment, a person is here, breathing, smiling, touching your life. And the next, they are gone. But are they truly gone? When you sleep, you enter a space where time, logic, and physical reality lose their grip. In this space, those who have left their bodies often appear. When you dream of someone who has passed, what does it mean? Is it a message, a memory, or something deeper? Existence isn't confined to flesh and bone. Every life is an imprint, a vibration. The ones you've loved and lost aren't just memories. They are energy that continues in a different form. When you dream of them, it means their presence still lingers in your energy field. Life is far more than what meets the eye. What we touch, see, and hear are fragments, not the entirety of existence. The human experience is largely sensory, yet what lies beyond the senses is far more significant. Just because something is unseen doesn't mean it's non-existent. The air you breathe, the thoughts within you, the emotions shaping your life, all are invisible, yet impactful. When someone passes, we say they're gone. But what is truly departed? The body returns to the earth, to the 5 elements from which it was borrowed. But the essence, the presence that laughed, loved, and lived, does it vanish into nothingness? We must look beyond the physical. Existence doesn't end with the body, it transforms. What was once tangible becomes subtle, a presence no longer bound by a body but existing as an imprint, an energy, a vibration that doesn't disappear. When you dream of someone who has passed, it's not just memory at play. It's an experience of a different nature. Your mind might label it as recollection, but if you pay attention, some dreams carry a depth beyond personal memory. You wake, not just remembering, but feeling their presence vividly, as though they were there with you. This isn't just the mind working. It's a touch of the unseen. The world we perceive is structured logically and tangibly, but existence operates on dimensions beyond intellect. There are realms where time doesn't move linearly, where distance is measured in energy, and where life and death are phases of the same continuum. If you've ever sat in deep silence or observed your breath without distraction, you'll know life isn't just a physical process. It's a pulsation of something profound. The body breathes, but what breathes life into the body? The heart beats, but what fuels its rhythm? The physical is merely an instrument through which something subtler plays its music. When someone departs, their physical presence may be gone, but their energy doesn't evaporate. It remains, not as a ghost or shadow, but as an imprint in the vastness of existence. This is why certain places, objects, or moments carry a presence beyond explanation. You walk into a room where a loved one once lived, and something stirs within you. You hold an old letter or hear a familiar song, and suddenly, time folds upon itself, bringing back something you thought was lost. This isn't nostalgia alone. It's an interaction with the unseen. When such impressions are strong, they manifest in dreams. The human system isn't limited to the body. It's a field of energy constantly interacting with the larger existence. Sometimes what we call dreams are doorways into another layer of reality. In sleep, when waking distractions fade, you become more receptive to what's beyond the obvious. You may find yourself in the presence of someone who has departed, not as a fragment of memory, but as a tangible, real experience. Some dismiss this as imagination, but if you've known such dreams, you'll understand they carry clarity, vividness, and sometimes even messages the waking mind couldn't conceive. The unseen isn't separate from you. It's interwoven with your existence in ways you may not always recognize. Just as the moon controls tides without touching the ocean, just as the wind moves trees while remaining invisible, life operates on levels beyond the physical. Acknowledging this isn't superstition, it's embracing the vastness of existence. The unseen isn't unreal, it's simply beyond ordinary perception. But when the right moment comes, when the veil thins and you're receptive, it reveals itself, not as a ghostly apparition, but as a truth that's always been there, waiting to be noticed. Everything that exists leaves an imprint. A drop of rain doesn't just fall and vanish, it leaves ripples. A footprint in the sand may fade, but for a moment, it holds the presence of the one who walked there. Life isn't just a series of physical actions, it's a continuous exchange of energy. Every thought, movement, and interaction creates an imprint that lingers beyond the moment it was formed. These imprints don't fade instantly or disappear just because the eyes can no longer see them. They remain in spaces, minds, and the very air around us. When a person lives, they don't just occupy a body. They leave traces of their presence everywhere. Every word, action, and emotion carries a quality of energy that doesn't dissolve upon expression. Places they frequented, objects they handled, people they connected with, all become carriers of their essence. This is why certain places seem to hold an atmosphere beyond mere physicality. A home where generations lived doesn't feel like a new building without history. A temple or sacred site holds a different energy than a marketplace. This isn't mystical. It's the accumulation of countless imprints left behind. Human beings aren't just physical structures. They're energy and emotion. Thoughts entertained, emotions nurtured, and the intensity of living create a unique energetic signature. Some leave imprints so strong they're felt long after they've gone. You may walk into a room where a great musician once played and feel something stirring within you, or enter a space where suffering was intense and heaviness lingers. The energy generated in those places remains subtly, yet tangibly. This is even more pronounced with people we've shared deep connections with. When someone plays a significant role in your life, the energy exchanged isn't limited to physical proximity. That connection continues beyond memory. Their presence isn't just in their body, it's in their thoughts, voice, laughter, and silence. When they're no longer physically present, that presence doesn't vanish. It lingers as an imprint within you. These imprints sometimes manifest in dreams, sudden remembrances, or inexplicable feelings of nearness. It's not uncommon to feel the presence of a loved one long after they've passed, as though some part of them still moves through shared spaces. This isn't imagination. It's the continuation of an energetic connection that hasn't faded. The stronger the bond, the deeper the imprint, and the more likely it is to resurface subtly. Some experience this emotionally, others through vivid dreams, and some through an unshakable sense of presence words can't fully explain. Imprints don't just linger in places and people, they also linger in time. Memories sometimes return, with a force that feels almost as real as the present. Not because of intentional recall, but because something, an event, word, fragrance, or song, stirs the dominant imprint into awareness. These moments are echoes, ripples returning long after the initial wave has passed. The depth of these imprints depends on the intensity with which life was lived, the emotions invested, and the level of consciousness with which each moment was experienced. Some leave presences felt centuries later, while others pass leaving, barely a trace. The more attuned to these subtleties, the more one realizes life isn't isolated. It's not just individual experiences, but an ongoing intermingling of energies shaping and influencing one another in seen and unseen ways. Nothing truly disappears, it only transforms. A spoken word becomes an echo in the mind. A touch becomes a lingering sensation. A presence becomes an imprint whispering through time. Life unfolds in cycles, repeating, evolving, and resolving in ways beyond ordinary perception. What you experience today isn't always the result of something consciously created now. It may be the reverberation of something past, unfinished, unresolved, seeking completion. These reverberations are karmic echoes, the lingering imprints of past actions and interactions continuing to shape life. Karma isn't about reward and punishment. It's the residual impact of all that's been thought, felt, and done. Every interaction leaves an imprint, and these imprints don't fade into nothingness. They remain, sometimes hidden, sometimes dormant, but always present, waiting for the right moment to emerge again. Often these echoes manifest subtly. Patterns repeating, relationships following familiar scripts, situations appearing coincidental but deeply intertwined with the past. When someone who has passed appears in your dreams, it's not always just memory surfacing. Sometimes it's a karmic echo, a reverberation of something incomplete between you and them. Bonds between people aren't just emotional or social, they're energetic, and these energies don't dissolve upon physical death. If a relationship carried strong intensity of love, conflict, gratitude, resentment, or longing, it doesn't end when one person leaves the body. Instead, it lingers, seeking resolution. It's not uncommon for recurring dreams of those who've passed to occur, especially if something was left unsaid or unfinished. These dreams aren't just mental projections. They can be encounters in a different dimension where boundaries between the living and departed aren't rigid. Sometimes, a departed soul's presence in a dream seeks closure, completing a cycle interrupted by physical separation. The emotions in such dreams, peace, sorrow, joy, unease, are indicators of unresolved aspects within your own system. Karmic echoes aren't confined to dreams. They can be felt in waking life too. A sudden thought of someone long gone, an overwhelming emotion from nowhere, an unexplainable pull toward a place, or the sense of being watched when no one's present. These are signs of lingering karmic ties. Sometimes these echoes persist because a lesson hasn't been fully understood, a realization hasn't dawned, or an aspect of oneself still holds on to what should have been released. Unfinished business with those who've passed isn't just psychological, it's an energetic phenomenon. If a relationship ended in conflict, if forgiveness wasn't spoken, if love or gratitude was unexpressed, the energy of those emotions continues vibrating between the two beings, regardless of whether one is in a body. These vibrations seek movement, resolution, and completion of interrupted cycles. This is why many spiritual traditions include prayers, rituals, and offerings for the departed, not because the dead need material things, but because these acts help dissolve lingering karmic imprints, allowing both the living and departed to move forward without unnecessary entanglements. For the sensitive, karmic echoes can be triggered unexpectedly, a scent, melody, or phrase sparking a vivid connection to someone who's passed. In that moment, time collapses, merging past and present. Every soul carries echoes of countless interactions woven into existence's intricate web. Some echoes fade naturally, while others persist until consciously acknowledged and resolved. Sometimes karmic echoes aren't from this lifetime alone. Relationships and events shaping life often continue interactions played out across multiple lifetimes. The attraction, aversion, or deep familiarity felt upon meeting certain people often results from connections extending beyond the present life. When someone who's passed appears in dreams with intensity beyond this lifetime's scope, the karmic bond may be older than remembered. Such dreams aren't just personal. They glimpse deeper layers of one's journey, revealing ties stretching beyond present existence. Karmic echoes don't haunt or burden. They remind and offer opportunities to bring awareness to what still needs understanding, acceptance, or release. If you pay attention, these echoes guide toward clarity and liberation. Whether through dreams, sudden remembrance, or unseen forces, life constantly offers chances to resolve, complete, and balance the web of connections woven through time. Life and death aren't separate events. They're part of the same continuum unfolding in different dimensions of existence. What we call life is energy gathered within a physical framework. What we call death is the release of that container. The fundamental life force, the essence of what we are, doesn't vanish when the body falls away. It continues, unbound by flesh, moving through realms invisible to ordinary perception. Human understanding of life is shaped largely by physical experience. The body, visible and measurable, becomes the primary reference for what's real. But what animates the body, what gives awareness, intelligence, and experience is far more subtle. The body doesn't give rise to consciousness. Consciousness allows the body to function. A lifeless body can't perceive because it's the instrument, not the source. When consciousness no longer finds use for the body, it doesn't cease to exist. It moves beyond the physical. Different cultures describe this continuity in various ways: soul, spirit, or energy-changing form. Regardless of terminology, the essence remains the same. Life doesn't end, it transitions. In deep meditation, one can experience this directly, realizing the body is just the outer shell while deeper dimensions extend far beyond birth and death. Those who've had near-death experiences often describe awareness unbound by the body, continuing even as the body lay lifeless temporarily. These aren't hallucinations or brain tricks, they're glimpses into the reality that consciousness isn't confined to the physical form. When someone dies, what's lost is only the tangible aspect of their being. Their presence, essence, and consciousness don't dissolve instantly. They remain moving according to their nature. How one lives determines the quality of this transition. If life was lived with clarity and awareness, the journey beyond happens smoothly without struggle. If lived in confusion, entanglement, or unfulfilled desires, the transition may be turbulent, as consciousness clings to unresolved aspects. This is why many traditions include practices assisting the departed, ensuring they move forward without unnecessary suffering. For the living, the presence of the departed is often felt in ways logic can't explain. Many experience moments sensing the nearness of someone who's passed, sometimes in dreams so vivid they feel more real than waking life, sometimes as an unshakable feeling of being watched or accompanied. These aren't mere projections, they're interactions with something beyond the visible. The consciousness that moved through a body hasn't vanished, it's shifted to another plane. The degree to which one perceives this depends on their level of awareness. For most, the physical world dominates, lacking sensitivity to recognize what lies beyond. But in moments of deep silence or heightened perception, barriers between life and death grow thin. It's not uncommon for those who've lost loved ones to suddenly feel their presence, as though they're reaching out, transcending speech and touch. If receptive, one can recognize these moments for what they are: reminders that existence doesn't end with death. In many spiritual traditions, death isn't feared but seen as a passage, a doorway into another form of being. The physical body is shed, but the journey continues. What determines this journey isn't the manner of death but the state in which one lived. If life was unconscious, tied to attachments and unresolved emotions, these elements carry forward, shaping what comes next. If life was lived with completion, awareness, and inner balance, the transition becomes liberation rather than struggle. Sometimes, those who've passed don't immediately move on. Strong emotional bonds, unfinished responsibilities, or unresolved karma may cause their presence to linger, not as ghostly apparitions but as energetic imprints interacting subtly with the world. This is why people feel the presence of departed loved ones long after they're gone. These presences may manifest in dreams, sudden thoughts, or inexplicable moments of connection defying ordinary explanation. It's not that the person is trapped. It's that ties from life still hold weight. This is why practices of remembrance, prayer, and ritual exist, not to bring the dead back, but to aid their journey, dissolve lingering entanglements, and allow both the living and departed to move forward without burdens. If you've lost someone and continue to experience their presence, it's important not to cling to sorrow or longing, but to recognize this as an opportunity to bring completion to whatever remains unfinished. Beyond time's limitations and the physical world's constraints, consciousness moves in ways beyond ordinary understanding. What we perceive as the end is often another beginning, an unfolding of existence in dimensions the physical senses can't grasp. The presence of those who've passed isn't just memory, it's a reality continuing to flow, sometimes visible, sometimes unseen, but always part of existence's vast interconnectedness. Memory isn't just stored past events, it's a living presence shaping how one experiences life every moment. The past doesn't exist only in distant recollections. It echoes through thoughts, emotions, and even the body, often beyond conscious awareness. Every interaction, significant moment, and intense emotion leaves an imprint, not just in the brain but in the fabric of one's being. These imprints don't fade completely. They become part of the unseen foundation upon which the present is built. This is why certain memories feel as vivid as the day they occurred and why certain emotions return with disproportionate force. Memory isn't a simple recording device, it's selective, fluid, and deeply intertwined with emotion. What's remembered isn't always factual, but how it was experienced and felt. Two people witnessing the same event may carry completely different recollections shaped by their emotions and perceptions. It's not factual details, but emotional charge that determines a memory's weight. Moments of intense joy, pain, love, or sorrow tend to stay long after mundane details fade. When someone passes, they don't leave a void. They leave a landscape of memories and emotions continuing to influence. Their presence isn't confined to old photographs or stories, but lives on in the impressions they left in hearts and minds. These impressions aren't passive recollections. They stir emotions, shape decisions, and color life's perception. Even years after someone departs, thinking of them can bring tears, laughter, longing, or closeness. It's not just remembrance, it's a continuation of the relationship in a different form. Memories surface unexpectedly, triggered by subtle things, a fragrance, song, or sunlight, dissolving the boundary between past and present, making what was felt come alive again. It's not just thought. It's a full-bodied experience where past emotions feel as tangible as present reality. Dreams are where these memories and emotions find expression. When someone who's past appears in a dream, it's not always random. It reflects something deeper, unresolved, seeking completion. The subconscious mind doesn't differentiate past and present like the waking mind. It operates where time is fluid and past emotions remain active. In dreams, free from logic's constraints, encounters feel more real than reality. Many describe dreams of departed loved ones with clarity and intensity beyond ordinary dreams. Every detail, word, and emotion significant, as if something beyond memory is at play. For some, these dreams bring comfort, a sense of reunion, or the presence of the one they've lost. For others, they bring unresolved emotions, guilt, regret, longing, or unfinished conversations never spoken in life. Waking from such dreams often feels like truly meeting the person, stepping into a realm where such meetings are possible. Beyond dreams, memory and emotion manifest in waking life in ways defying explanation. Sudden waves of emotion seeming to come from nowhere, realizing you're thinking of someone who's passed. Others speak of feeling a presence, subtle yet unmistakable, as if the one they lost is still watching, guiding, intertwined with their journey. Stories abound of receiving answers to unasked questions, finding comfort in despair as if an unseen hand reassured them. These experiences are often dismissed as coincidence or imagination, but those who felt them know there's more. The bond between beings doesn't end because one is no longer physically present. Love, attachment, and connection transcend space and time. Deeply intertwined lives leave energy that doesn't vanish upon death. It lingers in shared spaces, touched objects, spoken words, and pulsing emotions in the one who remains. In many cultures, honoring the memory of the departed isn't just ritual, it's keeping the connection alive, acknowledging that though the form is gone, the essence remains. Sometimes memories demand attention, rising with force that can't be ignored. These moments aren't nostalgia, they're opportunities for reflection, understanding unfinished business and releasing what needs dissolving. Some memories bring warmth and gratitude, others carry unresolved pain. If observed closely, frequently returning memories aren't random. They're signposts pointing to something within still seeking resolution. Emotions attached to these memories aren't reactions, they're invitations to look deeper, understand what binds you to the past, and recognize how unseen threads shape the present. Certain relationships, moments, and losses feel profound because they never seem to fade. It's not just time determining whether a memory lingers, it's the depth of emotion tied to it. A truly lived relationship doesn't become a story of the past. It continues as an undercurrent subtly influencing life even in physical absence. Such a connection doesn't lose potency. It remains woven into one's essence, surfacing in dreams, thoughts, and silent spaces where the heart listens. Beyond words, there are moments when the unseen presses against the known, blurring boundaries between what is and what was. A whisper in silence, a presence felt, but unseen. A dream so vivid it lingers like unspoken truth. These aren't mere figments of imagination, but calls from beyond, invitations to listen, perceive, and understand that existence doesn't end where the physical world draws its lines. When someone departs, their journey doesn't halt. It takes a turn unseen to those who remain. The essence of who they were, the energy of their being, doesn't dissolve into nothingness. It moves, shifts, and continues in ways the human mind can't always grasp. Sometimes this transition is smooth as the departing soul slips into existence's vast expanse without resistance. But sometimes something remains unresolved. An echo lingers, a connection not ready to fade. In these moments, one might feel the presence of someone no longer here, not as memory, but as something unmistakable, a call from beyond. Such a call can come in many forms, sometimes as a dream more real than a dream. Not a hazy recollection, but an encounter carrying depth and clarity unlike ordinary dreams. Departed appear not as distant figures, but as living presences, speaking, guiding, sometimes revealing things unknowable. Many waking from such dreams sense something unfinished, as if stepping into another realm where time flows differently, continuing conversations left incomplete in life. For some, the call comes in waking moments, a sudden thought so strong, it halts everything else. An unshakable feeling of being watched, a scent in the air that shouldn't be there, a familiar song playing at just the right moment, a shift in a room's atmosphere. These are subtle yet undeniable signals, invitations to pay attention. It's easy to dismiss these as coincidences or tricks of the mind, but for those who felt them, there's no doubt. These moments carry intensity and certainty logic can't explain away. Instances exist where the call manifests through signs. Objects moved without explanation, lights flickering, clocks stopping at significant hours. Some experience the presence of departed loved ones through animals, birds arriving at the window, butterflies landing on an outstretched palm, drawn by something beyond instinct. Across cultures, such occurrences are understood not as random, but as messages, gentle reminders that the thread of connection remains unbroken. The call from beyond isn't always about unresolved grief or unfinished business. Sometimes it's a simple acknowledgement, a presence making itself known not to stir sorrow, but to remind the living they're not alone. It can come in moments of distress when a person stands on despair's edge and suddenly feels the warmth of an unseen hand guiding them back. It can come as quiet reassurance, a feeling of protection, a sense that someone who once walked the earth still walks beside them invisibly. In some cases, the departed reach out not just to loved ones, but to those tuned enough to sense them. Countless accounts exist of people without personal connection to the deceased, suddenly feeling their presence, hearing their name, or receiving messages meant for families. Some find themselves compelled to visit places they've never been, only to discover later they were significant to a soul trying to make itself known. Others speak of receiving thoughts, impressions, or words not coming from within, as if someone beyond uses them as a vessel to communicate what was left unsaid. The intensity of such experiences often depends on the depth of the bond that once existed. Profound love and strong connections don't dissolve with the body. They linger, weaving into existence's fabric, waiting for the right moment to be acknowledged. Sometimes the call from beyond is a longing, a soul reaching back, seeking closure, recognition, or offering reassurance. Other times it's an urging, pushing toward something unfinished in the life of the one who remains, an unseen force guiding them toward paths they might not have taken otherwise. For those deeply connected to the departed, the call can be overwhelming, stirring emotions raw as the moment of loss. But if listened to closely, beyond grief and longing, there's something more, an understanding, a truth transcending life and death's temporary nature. It's a reminder that existence isn't as linear as it seems, that those who've left the world aren't as far as they appear. In moments of deep silence, in spaces where the mind is still and the heart open, the presence of those who've passed can be felt as clearly as the sun rising. Some resist such experiences, fearing being visited by those beyond the physical, This fear stems not from the experience itself, but from conditioning telling people death is absolute separation, that the dead should remain in their realm, that feeling their presence is unnatural. But truthfully, existence doesn't recognize such rigid barriers. The call from beyond isn't meant to haunt or frighten. It's a reminder, an extension of love, an opportunity to see that life doesn't end where the body does. The question isn't whether such calls happen. They've occurred as long as humans have existed. The question is whether one is willing to listen. The unseen doesn't demand belief or validation. It simply is. For those open, willing to receive, understanding that life is more than what eyes see and hands touch. The call from beyond isn't something to fear but to embrace, understand, and honor as part of existence's vast, intricate play. Liberation and attachment are two forces shaping the human experience often unnoticed. One pulls inward, binding a person to the past, memories, emotions, and identities they've outgrown, while the other urges movement beyond, releasing all confines and limits. This isn't just philosophical, it's foundational to how life unfolds. Every thought, emotion, and relationship expresses either attachment or liberation, and the balance determines the nature of one's journey. From birth, attachment begins taking root. The child clings to the mother for survival, comfort, familiarity, and warmth. As life progresses, attachments expand to people, possessions, identities, and experiences bringing joy or pain. These attachments create belonging, continuity, and assurance of existence in relation to something else. The more deeply entangled, the stronger the illusion of permanence. People define themselves by what they hold on to. Their relationships, successes, failures, joys, and sorrows. Attachment inherently struggles. It's the root of longing, suffering, and inability to let go even when circumstances demand it. Losing something brings pain, not just people, but anything identified with. The mind seeks to hold on, replaying memories, trying to relive moments that can't be grasped. Stronger attachment means greater suffering when threatened or taken away. This is particularly evident in losing a loved one. The void left isn't just physical absence, but breaking an attachment integral to one's being. The mind clings to their voice, laughter, touch, resisting impermanence, and suffering takes root. Many get trapped in grief, unable to move forward because attachment is so strong they can't imagine life without the one they've lost. Even in life, attachment is a source of anxiety, fear, and uncertainty. Deeper attachment means greater fear of losing it, which is why people suffer not only when they lose something, but even while having it due to the looming possibility of loss. On the other hand, liberation isn't detachment in indifference or coldness. It's not denying love or relationships or walking away from life. True liberation is experiencing life fully without being bound by it. It's loving deeply without fear, embracing every moment without possession, engaging with life, knowing nothing is truly mine. It's understanding transience and finding freedom in it. Liberation isn't absence of connection, but connecting without clinging, loving without possessing, experiencing without grasping, walking through life without being weighed down by the past. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting, it's transforming. Attachment. It's shifting from clinging to embracing what is. Understanding love doesn't end with death, and relationships don't cease because the physical form is gone. Openness reveals those who've left aren't gone. They've moved beyond form, and their presence can be felt not as painful attachment but as flowing energy. Moving from attachment to liberation is shifting from seeking security and impermanence to finding peace in existence's flow. It's understanding nothing is truly owned, not people, experiences, or even one's body. Everything is part of a vast interconnected play, appearing and disappearing, rising and falling, coming and going. Holding tightly hurts when things slip away, but learning to walk with open hands, embracing impermanence, brings lightness, freedom, and ease beyond attachment's grasp. Letting go isn't losing, it's gaining something far greater. It's stepping beyond conditioned mind, identity, and the need to hold on to slipping things. It's not rejecting the world, but engaging fully without being trapped by it. It's seeing love isn't about holding on, but allowing, trusting, and harmonizing with life's ever-changing flow. Liberation isn't attained. It's realized already present beneath attachment-clouded perception. It's within, waiting to be uncovered, not outside. It doesn't require leaving the world but seeing it with new eyes, moving through it with an unburdened heart, releasing when things go, finding no fear, suffering, or loss, only endless, life unfolding with openness and profound joy. Life is a delicate dance between seen and unseen, held and released. The presence of those who've passed doesn't fade into nothingness, it transforms, whispering through dreams, lingering in stillness. Grief from loss isn't weakness but a reflection of love. Yet true love doesn't bind, it liberates. Clinging resists existence's natural rhythm, but embracing impermanence steps into life's vastness. The call from beyond, echoes of memory, energy imprints left behind. These aren't illusions but invitations. They remind us bonds formed in life don't dissolve with time. They evolve, expand, and continue beyond logical comprehension. Recognizing. This doesn't reject grief but transforms it, moving from attachment to liberation. Understanding loved ones are never truly lost. They exist not as shadows of sorrow, but currents in existence's great river, flowing within and around us. To dream of those who've passed isn't merely recalling them but meeting them where time holds no dominion. Witnessing boundaries between life and death aren't rigid is a reminder that a being's essence isn't confined to the body. Love isn't bound by form, and existence unfolds beyond physical limits. When one sees life this way, not as beginnings and endings but continuous movement, there's no longer fear, only reverence for the mystery, vastness, and profound beauty of being alive.